There's so much anticipation in the room. An invitation to a deep cleansing. A deep cleansing breath of satisfaction, of delight. For today, the Aleph ordination program welcomes a minion of extraordinary Talmidim into the circle of rabbis, chazanim, and rabbinic pastors. 6 rabbis, 1 chazan, 3 rabbinic pastors. 6, 1, 3. Rabboni Shalom, we worked that out especially for you. It's a great delight to welcome such students into our circle of colleagues. Certificates of collegiality. Welcoming you into a circle of colleagues, to stand with them in the midst of my colleagues. This is a further honor. To stand with our students and our colleagues, with you, Reb Zalman, is a delight that is like a taste of heaven. In the cycle of Torah, this week throughout the Jewish world, each one of us stands along with Moshe Rabbeinu at the bush that burns and is not consumed. The historic Moshe and that Moshe that lives inside of each one of us as part of us stands at a bush that burns, out of the midst of which a voice calls us to our destiny. Each one of you here today responds with hineni to such a call. Take off your shoes, for you stand on holy ground. The voice calls to the Moshe beyond and within each of us. Take off any impediment that keeps you from walking the path of your deployment. Let no story that you tell yourself hold you back. For the call wants nothing less than all you can give. My beloved Zaidi used to say, you gotta have vision. The great poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who I'm almost certain never met my Zaidi, wrote saying, "Earth is crammed with heaven. Every bush aflame with God. But only those who see take off their shoes." May you be blessed with vision. That in every encounter that touches you, you see the resident holiness in every event, in every person, in every circumstance. That you see earth crammed with heaven. May you see every bush aflame with God. May your hearts be open to the resident holiness of all existence. May your employment be your deployment. May you be called to service in the highest, deepest, and holiest of ways. Beaming love at these Talmidim, that's your job. A community of witness, a community of compassion, deep caring, and love. Beaming love at our musmachim, we send you through this ceremony with our empowerment into the future.
Beloved family and friends, beloved colleagues and teachers, our beloved Zaidi Rabbi Zalman, Bruchim Habaim, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this most sweet and auspicious occasion. We are honored and humbled to be with you today. In less than 2 hours' time, we will have been ordained. 6 rabbis, 1 cantor, and 3 rabbinic pastors.
6 rabbis, 1 cantor, and 3 rabbinic pastors. 613, 613, Reb Marshall. The number of mitzvot. And like each of the mitzvot, each of us was uniquely created to do the holy work that serves to connect us to each other, to ourselves, and to the Holy One of Blessing. And like Moshe Rabbeinu, we have been called to assume positions of leadership.
Who are we? And how did we arrive at this 8 Ratzon, the intersection of our dreams and God's dreams for us?
Collectively, we have been to this Smicha ritual 30 times. But before today, only as a bridesmaid, never a bride. But despite the lack of a tu'udah, a certificate of ordination, all 10 of us are actively engaged in our Jewish communities as congregational rabbis, hospital or hospice chaplains, educators, and chazanim.
We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and trace our family trees to Russia, Crimea, Poland, England, Romania, Afghanistan, and Germany, as well as South Dakota farm country and Texas oil country. We are the beneficiaries of our parents' labor. The work they did ranged from mailman to shoemaker, dress manufacturer, and scrap metal dealer. One was a member of the Royal Air Force, and one was a button manufacturer.
Another was a Jewish day school principal, and one was a Lutheran parochial school teacher. One of our parents was a rabbi. When we were children, we dreamt of what we might want to be when we grew up. An archaeologist, a cowboy, second baseman for the New York Yankees.
One of us wanted to be Elvis Presley, later changing to wanting to be Bob Dylan. One dreamed of being a dancer or a teacher. 3 of us dreamed of being a rabbi. And soon 2 of those 3 will fulfill their childhood dream. The 3rd will be ordained a cantor. Why a cantor? Because a trusted teacher advised him that the chazan has more fun.
On our circuitous path to this day, we have earned degrees in education, math, electrical engineering, philosophy, medicine, and literature.
We have held a lot of different kinds of jobs: art curator, shoe salesman, Jungian astrologer, Broadway actor, house builder, bookstore owner, early childhood educator, translator of Israeli rock songs, pastry chef, costume designer, waitress, and busboy.
Our hobbies and interests, they range from spending time in nature, photography, hiking, biking, bridge, and numismatics. In 1969, one of us No, he really did attend Woodstock. We've driven across the United States and Canada and traveled to over 30 countries, 11 of which we davened in. One of us davened in the middle of a rainforest in Costa Rica. One of us davened on the terrace of a winery next to a pyramid in Egypt. And one of us ran with the bulls in Pamplona, although he doesn't remember whether he was davening and running at the same time.
Between us, we've been married or partnered for 144 years. One of us was married within the past 30 days. We have 17 children and 12 grandchildren, and we count ourselves and them among those who God spoke of in God's promise to Abraham Avinu, that we would be blessed as the stars in the heaven and the sand on the shore of the sea. In so many ways, we feel extremely blessed.
We are 6 rabbis, 1 cantor, and 3 rabbinic pastors, each traveling on her unique path.
Each responding to his unique calling.
We are honored and humbled to be with you today.
As we read the portion of this week, Shemot, meaning names, I would like us to remember all the names of our loved ones that are not longer with us. Each one of us have 4 names. The name that God gave us, our soul, our neshama, the name that our parents give us when we're born, the name that our friend, our community give us, but the most important name is the name that you make to yourself by good deed, the mitzvot, loving each other. This is the name they stay after we're gone. Let us honor this name during a moment of silence. טוב, שם טוב ושמן טוב, יהי זכרם ברוך.
The Eleh Shemot, and these are the names of the Israelites who came to Egypt.
And a new king arose, who knew not Joseph.
And they oppressed them and made their lives bitter.
But the midwives revered God, and they didn't do as the Egyptian king told them. They let the boy babies live.
And the people cried out.
And their cries rose up to God.
And Moses was shepherding the sheep when he turned to see the bush, which burned, yet was not consumed.
And God called him, Moshe, Moshe.
And Moshe answered, Hineni, here I am.
And Moshe asked, Whom shall I say sent me?
And God replied, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I will be what I will become.
And this too, I will be with you.
Please join me.
L'man achai v'reyai, l'man achai v'reyai, adabrana, adabrana,
Ephraim ben Yaakov V'Sara. Our Torah portion, entitled Shemot, begins with the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. And by listing the names of Jacob's family members who went into Egypt, the Torah reminds us of all the people who affect our lives and our potential to affect the lives of others. Spend a moment, if you would, to think about all the people who have had an effect on who we are today. And standing before you today are people who are about to be given new names, new titles, who have studied and practiced to take a new step in our lives. Our names are to be read just as the names of our ancestors are enumerated at the beginning of this chapter. On the opening words of this book, the sages commented that the Israelites were worthy of being redeemed precisely because we did not assimilate. Through all the years of slavery, we did not change our names, our language, or our mode of dress. Our ancestors maintained their attachment to their true selves by remaining loyal to their given names. In our studies, we drew closer to our tradition and became less assimilated. Each of us has heard this call in a unique way, drawing us closer to reality. I felt and heard the call of Hashem as a young child, learning the holy melodies of our service from my beloved Chazan Yaakov Stein. And when I was greeted by the joy of Reb Shlomo as a child, I felt the call to walk in his footsteps. I felt the call of Hashem singing the Kiddush at our Shabbat table and witnessing my parents' felling. And when I witnessed Reb Zalman and my son Yonatan's Upshurin, his haircutting ceremony, not only did you cut hair, Reb Zalman, but you also lifted up my 3-year-old in honor by asking his permission. He stepped down and said, "Can I cut your hair?" And then he said, "Where can I cut your hair?" Of a 3-year-old. And I said, "This is the rabbi who I can watch how he ties his shoes." I felt the call hundreds of times with my holy partner, Rosalie, as we would lead a large group of strangers into intimate connections in our many Bashir workshops. And again, I heard the solo call when I was first hired by Temple Israel. And I stood alone in the lovely sanctuary, which has been described as standing inside God's roll-top desk. The voice welcomed me to the bima and told me to enjoy this new position. I heard God say, "I have you right where I want you now. And I want you to stay here until it stops being a joy." From the book of Samuel, we read, "Chishmo Kenu," as the name, so is the person. May each of us walk in strength in our new names, our new titles, and hear the call of Hashem. Within!
Can you hear me now? Give me a few more years, I'll get it. What's in a name? My name is Moshe Yosef. Moshe Yosef. One brought the Israelites into Egypt, one brought them out. Both said, Hineni, here I am. This pronouncement in Torah comes
At critical points in life, when we arrive at an aha moment, sometimes like Joseph, in a seemingly innocuous instant, when asked to go check on his brothers. Or, like Moses, when confronted, albeit reluctantly, by one's destiny. Hineni, hineni, muchan u'mezuman. Hineni is that moment of quintessential knowing that something major is before us. And more importantly, we are ready to step into the moment and stand on that sacred ground, no matter how scary it was, is, or will be. When do we arrive at Hineni? Joseph was a youth. I'm 60. Moshe was 80. Rabbi Zalman reminds us, you never know how God will decide to deploy us. I would add respectfully, or when. I stand before you in this holy place of Hineni and humility and hesitation. Hineni is timeless, and I am merely a part of its continuum. Hineni is scary when one stands alone, but as part of a continuum, not so much. And with this holy chevra, definitely not so. I give thanks to all my teachers, but special thanks to my Aleph teachers, my Beth Jacob community in Regina, some of whom are here today, to my wife, Chris, and my children, and especially to my parents, Shlomo ben Michael, Zichrono Livracha, and Esther Gittel bat David Vefeya, Zichrono Livracha, in whose honor I stand before you today. All those angels, who, like the angels, one for each blade of grass, encouraging, willing, and supporting it to grow and fulfill its purpose, have surrounded me with love and friendship and support. All of you who have challenged and cajoled and hugged, but have never allowed me to back away from taking my place. To all of you, loving, caring teachers and fellow travelers, I say thank you. And when you need me, Hineni.
My name is Shendel, daughter of Gittel Pasha, who is the daughter of Yentel V'Shmuel. My name is Shendel, daughter of Aaron Yosef, who is the son of Miriam V'Moshe. God whispers in my ear, calling me so quietly do I hear. I stand in quiet moments that reflect a bush that is full of light. I also stand before a rainbow, as when I was thinking of my mother of blessed memory, and a patient who reminded me of my mother, and at that moment, a rainbow appeared in the sky. Covenant. My covenant that says, Hineni, here I am, God. Use me, or as Rabbi Zalman says, deploy me. Help me to serve you in the best possible way. So God appears to me not so much as a burning bush that calls loudly, but whispers. So I really have to listen. In the silence of watching a patient take his or her last breath, in the moments of just being in a room full of sadness and grief, as when I arrived minutes before a patient passed away. The family, full of grief, allowed me in their space of sadness and remembrance. And when the husband of the deceased, as I gently put my arm on his shoulder, reached out and in such a gentle way took my hand. Sitting with him at the bedside of his wife, as he gently caressed his wife and gently, oh so gently, continued to hold my hand. This is truly a moment of Hineni. Here I am. Let me be with you in silence and love. And then the family takes the rosary in their hands and they caress the words of the Hail Mary, saying it, chanting it, feeling God's Holy Spirit, reciting the Our Father while the daughter is in tears. She cannot say it. She is so moved. As I watch and I witness this holy act of love and prayer, these are the times I remove my shoes, sometimes shedding my Jewish identity, sometimes all I know about words, standing in holy silence, standing as I sing gently to the dying. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear, safely in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear, safely in your hand. As Moshe stood at the bush, and as God guided Moshe to speak, God guides me to be wordless. And as God said to Moshe, God says to me, Vayomer ki ehyeh imach, v'zeh lecha ha'ot ki anochi shelachticha. I will be with you. That is your sign that it was I who sent you. I will be with you. God whispers in my ear, calling me, and I answer, Hineni. May we all be blessed with signs of God's presence and God's sign of I will be with you.
Ka'aya leta'arog על אפיקי מים, כן נפשי תערוג אליך אלוהים. כאייל תערוג על אפיקי מים, כן נפשי תערוג אליך אלוהים. צמא נפשי לאלוהים לאל חי, מתי אבוא ואראה פני Elohim. As the deer yearns for brooks of water, so my soul yearns for you, God. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. When will I come and appear before the divine presence? This small portion of Psalm 42 expresses so poignantly the longing so many people have for a living experience of God's presence. We often seek out other people and situations that will help us experience this. The Miyaldot HaIvriot, the Hebrew midwives, mentioned in the beginning of Shemot, are named Shifra and Puah. Their names are the first new names mentioned in the book of Shemot. We're not told the name of the new Pharaoh, nor his daughter. This early in the story, we don't know Moses' parents' names, nor his sister's name when they're first introduced, or even Moses' name, until he's given it by Pharaoh's daughter. But we do learn Shifra and Puah's names immediately. I see the calling of becoming a rabbi akin to being a midwife for the spiritual lives of those we serve. It's a humbling task in which at best you may assist someone else giving birth to themselves. You may help someone acquire the tools and skills to help themselves, point out paths they may take, help open some doors they must walk through themselves. The root letters of Shifra, as in l'shaper, mean to embellish, to beautify. The name also has the same root as the word shofar, the ram's horn, whose blasts are meant to awaken our souls at the birth of a new year. Smicha, this ceremony of ordination, births us into a new stage in our lives, one which for me has been a long time gestating from my earliest memories as a child enamored with Yiddishkeit, with Jewishness, with the synagogue melodies I grew up hearing, with the beautiful singing of my mother in her native Yiddish and Hebrew, giving me a taste of a vanished world across the ocean. I'm deeply grateful to all those who have midwifed me to arrive at this moment, my wonderful Aleph teachers, and especially Rabbi Zalman, who has been an inspiration to me since I first met him over 42 years ago. And of course, to my wife Shoshana and our son Lev, who nourish me daily.
besides me noticed sometimes how much easier it is to sing in a sweet, warm shower? So I want to bless us all with the awareness of singing in the sweet, warm shower of the abundance of divine love. Zohar teaches that the enslavement of Mitzrayim was so deep that speech itself, Dibur, was in exile. Ein ish dvarim anochi, says Moshe at the burning bush, words I have not. There was just cold, the voice crying out. That it was precisely this wordless voice that seeded the flow of our redemption. Vayizaku, and we cried out. Vatal shavatam el Elohim, and our pleadings rose up to God. Vayishma Elohim, and God heard. Vayizkor Elohim, and God remembered. Or there was a reawakening of our awareness of the divine in all things. Opening the pathways, leading beyond even speech, all the way to song, our truest potential. Shira Chadashah, a song of newness we sang on the banks of the sea. Friends, Chevra, I want to bless us all that each of our souls should sing the song that lets us remember who we are and why we're here. To awaken the flame of divine love song infused in each new breath, to step fully, gratefully, and joyfully into each moment, to say, yes, Hineni, here I am. Hineni, here I am, Holy One, take all of me and use me for your glory. May my prayer be your prayer, my voice your voice. Shekhinah, loving one, let not my imperfections nor my ego bind the way. Open my heart to listen to others when they pray. May our songs and silences illumine your way. In truth, compassion, with joy and love. Beloved, be you, hearing all the prayer. Baruch atah, shomea tefillah. Amen.
My name is Naomi Tzira, bat Avshalom va'Esther. And in my life, my name is being called twice by God. I first realized my name was being called twice by God when I read a teaching by the holy preacher, the Maggid of Mezrich. It was recounted in Reb Marsha's transformative book, The Path of Blessing. The Maggid points to two moments in Torah where a name is being called twice. First, Yaakov's name is being called twice by God when he is asked to bring his family to Egypt. And then again, God calls Moshe's name twice at the burning bush. When the Maggid chanted this text in Hebrew, he noticed something interesting with the punctuation. In the case of Yaakov's name, there was a pause between the first articulation of Yaakov and the second. But when God called Moshe, there was no pause. The first of Moshe's name glided effortlessly into the second. The Maggid explains, it is in the difference between the broken and unbroken calls that the Torah teaches us the two levels of being in the presence of God. There is ordinary human awareness and expanded, open consciousness. In God's disconnected beckoning of Yaakov, God is reaching his ordinary consciousness. Each utterance of Yaakov's name is distinctive because his awareness of mundane matters is not yet integrated with his expanded consciousness. However, when God calls Moshe, there are no pauses. Moshe has an integrated awareness of God, which unites his human and divine self in a single, flowing stroke. Moshe Rabbeinu is an open channel. God is also calling me twice, so I may open. The call to know my life as a human being came first. My parents modeled humanistic Jewish values. They gifted us with a passion for the arts, social justice, emotional perception, and a fierce passion for noticing the truth. In this first call from God, I began to care for others with the kind of precision I eventually learned to use with myself. My work with my own shadow and light, depression, as well as a fierce hunger for life, has tempered my human soul. The second call from God to my expanded self came in my 30s. I had an extended mystical experience. Vibrant consciousness opened a channel, attuning me to all beings and my essential nature. I saw beyond my identity a universal ground, life unbounded, what I call God. Jewish Renewal has helped me integrate this spiritual knowing. It's as if my rooted Jewish humanism has now received divine wings. Like Yaakov, I continue to integrate my two calls in life. Learning to hold both the human and divine within myself has helped me become a spiritual accompanier. My role as rabbinic pastor student helps me to live wide open in the eternal, as Moshe does. It invites me, in the eyes of each person I see, to remember this divine human connection again and again and again and again. Kabbalat al Malchut Shamayim. I answer the call.
עליכם. היום יום ראשון בשבת, שבו הלווים אומרים בבית המקדש, שאו שערים ראשיכם ושאו פתחי עולם. Open up. Today is the first day of the week that the Levi recite the daily song in the temple. Lift up your head, your gates, and let the entrance of the world be open. According to the Midrash Tehillim 24, after Solomon King finished building the temple, he brought the ark, the Ten Commandments and the Torah, to the temple. But he couldn't get it in. The gate wouldn't open. He prayed to God, the gate wouldn't open. He sang 24 songs, the gate wouldn't open. He turned to God and said, if you don't want to open the gate for me, for the sake of my father, King David, for his devotion, desire, his honor, open the gate for him. And the gate was open. Many gates open for me today, honoring because of my rabbi, my teacher, my family, my Rebbe Gedalia, my son Eden and Noga. All of you here brought me to this gate. Thank you. The portion of this week is Parashat Shemot, and it's about a holy place. And Rabbi Meir Simcha Cohen explained the meaning of a holy place. Holiness is not in heaven, he said. Holiness is a nature flow. It's a gift from God to us to understand that there is something bigger for us in there. Holiness is a connection. It's a bridge between us and God. There is a beautiful story about Kedusha, about holiness. It's about Rabbi Yitzchak Halevi Miberdichim. When he passed away, he came to his family in a dream to check how they're doing, to tell everybody that he's doing okay. And after a while, he stopped to come. His family was worried about him. And they sent a message to heaven, to the righteous people, to look for him. They looked all over the Garden of Eden. They couldn't find him. Finally, they find him in the last part of the Garden of Eden, standing in front of the ocean and cried. His Hasidic, his righteous people came to him and said, Rabbi Yitzchak, what are you doing here? Why are you crying? Come with us. Our family, your family, worry about you. Rabbi Yitzchak looked at them and he said, do you see this ocean? This ocean is an ocean of tear and pain and sorrow from all the Jewish, all the people in the world. And I'm not going to leave from here till I fill this ocean with the tears. When I heard this story, tears came to my eyes. And I know from this moment, I want to stand next to Rabbi Yitzchak Halevi and cry and fill this ocean together with him. But today I have a different tears, a sweet tears, a joyful tears, because I'm standing here and ready for my call. So thank you all that you came with me till this moment, and bless you. Thank you.
השמיני את קולך, כי קולך ערב ומברך נווה. השמיני את קולך, כי קולך ערב ומברך נווה. כי קולך ערב ומברך נווה. כי קולך ערב My name is Moshe Be'er ben Avraham Va'asnat. And for as long as I can remember, I've been singing. When I was a child, I had the sense that music was literally pushing up against my very being. demanding to be expressed. It's still so today. Life in my house is invariably an improvised opera. My daughter, Keziah, says, "Does everything have to be a song with you?" And my answer, of course, is, "Yes, I have no choice. This is what God dreamt me to be." Well, how do I know that? How do I have the holy chutzpah to say that I know what God dreamt me to be? Well, there's my name. Moshe Be'er. Moshe, to be drawn out. Be'er, to burn, to be a flame. Well, there you go. A fire burns inside of me, waiting to be drawn out. I am the burning bush. Midrash Tanhuma teaches that the fire was on both sides of the bush and in the upper portion, just as the heart is placed between the two sides and the upper portion of the body. Here within is my blazing fire. And like my namesake, I hear that inner mounting flame calling me, "Moshe, Moshe." And in reply I sing, "Hineni." Here I am. The fire, it sings to me. In fact, I hear all of God's creation singing, through all of nature and through all of you. It's part of the blueprint, and has been so since the beginning. Bereshit. Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yud, Taf. The word Bereshit is one possible combination of the letters, and another. The Holy Ari teaches that these letters also form the words Shir Taveh, song of desire. Bereshit, we and all of creation are the Holy One's song of desire. Listen, Shema Yisrael. And you can hear God calling out to us. It is the way in which God is searching for us. Ayecha, where are you? That is God's desire, God's yearning, God's ratzon, to know us. Ratzon, desire. This time the letters of the word Resh, Tzadi, Vav, Nun expand in the rabbinic imagination to three new words. Ratzon, Notzar, Tzinor. Desire creates a channel. A tzinor, a channel that when purified, when we free ourselves, even for a moment, from our personal Mitzrayim, allow our souls to sing its unique song. Rav Kook teaches, Kol Adam tzarich l'da'at, shekarui hu la'avod al pi ofen, ha'hakara, v'hargasha ha'miyuchad shelo, al pi shoresh nishmato. Every person must know that he is being called to serve in a way compatible with his unique aspirations and feelings, true to the core of his or her soul. My calling? Moshe, to serve God in a way that is truly and uniquely my own. Yai lai nai nai yai 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 lai nai yai yai yai
My name is Ilan David Ben Harav Moshe Yaakov, V'dreisha Firma Zichrona Livracha. Today, by the grace of God and the Aleph Vad. I become a rabbi. I'm not sure who gets more credit. I'm humbled and honored to reach this most auspicious moment. And I've given a lot of thought about what exactly it is I'm signing up to do. What does it mean to be a rabbi in today's world? Our world is experiencing tremendous upheaval, and the Jewish world is not immune from today's realities. According to the 2008 American Religious Identification Survey, 20% of Americans no longer identify with any religious tradition. The American Jewish world is shrinking. In 1990, we were 1.8% of the US population. Today, just 1.2. The Jewish world is aging, and many of our youth are walking away from synagogues in favor of ashrams, yoga centers, and unity churches. The largest self-identification of Jewish religious practice among today's young Jews is not Orthodox, it's not conservative, it's not Reform, it's not Reconstructionist, it's not even Renewal, but rather those who consider themselves spiritual, not religious. Synagogues are merging or closing all over the world, and some would even argue that the future looks bleak for world Jewry. And yet, there is an extraordinary opportunity for today's Jewish world to renew itself. And in many places it's happening, thanks in no small part to the work of Rabbi Zalman and everyone else here today. There is a tremendous hunger in today's world for meaning and inspiration. Today, we answer the call to step forward as leaders in the journey for renewing Jewish life. How do we do it? Here are two texts which I use for guidance. First, the Ohalah Rabbi Yaakov Friedman, a 20th century leader of the Husiatan Hasidic dynasty, asks, Mahu tafkido shel Rebbe? What is the job of a Rebbe? His answer, Letaher et libotehem shel hamistofefim betzilo, ulehair et nishmotehem beor hakdusha. To purify the hearts of those who gather in his presence, and to illuminate their souls with the light of holiness. To purify the hearts of those who gather in his presence, and to illuminate their souls with the light of holiness. Yolei Yaakov's ideas are also reflected in Torah. Immediately after Aaron and his sons give the first priestly blessing to the Israelites, God says, V'samu et shemi al b'nei Yisrael, va'ani avarachem. And they shall place my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. From these two texts, I learned that I don't do this work alone. I work in tandem with God, a holy partnership. Sometimes my job is just to place God's name in the palm of the people's hands, or to serve as a doorway for God's presence to shine through. But either way, it starts with me. My job as a rabbi is to lead by example, to open my heart to the light of holiness. Being a rabbi is a transformative experience. We have the power to impact people's lives on the deepest levels, and we are also transformed ourselves in the process. This is what we can cultivate and pass on, a soul-nourishing, transformational, holy, vibrant Judaism. May we know this holy, vibrant Judaism, dafke in our hearts and also in our minds. May we draw on this wellspring of love and blessing and light to inspire hearts and minds in our communities. And then, may we know how to be the proper holy channel for carrying God's blessing to the people, inside and outside of our communities too, now and for the rest of our lives. And when our work in this world is done, may our students and the students of our students carry this holy path of renewal ever forward. Amen. Amen.
My name is Tivona Zimrat Bat Dorit V'Yaakov, and I stand on holy ground. As Moshe stood on holy ground, and from within the burning bush, he heard this name of God, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. I am becoming what I am becoming. Ehyeh, says medieval Kabbalist Joseph Zikatilia, is the depth of God's primordial essence. Ehyeh, says Rabbi Arthur Green, is the one of utter openness to all that is to be. Standing on holy ground is an invitation to Ehyeh, to becoming, to being open to all that is to be. Several such invitations have been extended to me in my life. On the mesas of northern Arizona, as a child witnessing Hopi rain dances, I felt invited to stay open to the mystery, even though I had no name for it. In the radiant presence of the Dalai Lama during a private audience as a graduate student, I felt invited to experience the mystery through stillness and silence. In the holy waters of mikvah, I felt invited to live within the mystery as a Jew, as part of sacred community. All were invitations to Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, to become what I am becoming. I hold a vision of what I now want to become, a chaplain, one who is present for others whose own states of becoming are taking place in hospitals, mental wards, hospices, homeless shelters. But holy ground is not just an invitation to becoming. It is an awareness of becoming. The awareness that we cannot be consumed as the bush was not consumed, because what we were a moment, a breath, a millisecond ago is no longer. So I must confess, in this moment, on this holy ground in Ballroom Interlocken B, I don't know what I am becoming. I am filled with yirah, with terrifying awe, with what Rabbi Alan Lu Zikrona Livracha called the fear that fills the pit of our stomach when we find ourselves in the midst of becoming. I am quite sure Moshe, standing on his holy ground, was also filled with yirah. His holy ground was a Har Hamidbar, in the farthest reaches of the wilderness. I've spent my own time in the wilderness. But on this day, my holy ground is here with you. This sacred community of family and friends, fellow students, revered teachers, Rabbi Zalman. You who are not only witness to, but an integral part of my invitation to becoming. Your presence is a blessing to me and to all of us here before you, as we each step into all that is to be. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh.
Kosacoff.
Take off your shoes. This place you're standing is holy ground. Take off your shoes. The spot you're standing is holy ground. Every spot is holy ground. Every little inch is holy ground. Every grain of dirt is holy ground. Every spot I walk is holy ground.
Rabbi Zalman, we ask, please, if you will come forward and bring us a teaching. And as you prepare to do so, we don't want to miss an opportunity to sing a song of your composition.
You know I like to talk about computers.
Yeah.
No. Well, there's an installation. You are gonna get a system installed. And there's a problem because the registry has to make sure that it all goes, and the old cookies have to be removed. And then I'd like you to also have an Averis detector. So, that when the time comes, it should be resident, memory resident program that'll say, oops, before you make a mistake. Yehi Ratzon. That's good. Now a little toilet. You had the names of the children of Israel given in the Sedra before. Why repeat? Because in Shemot, they're taking on hard work. And it's not gonna be over until the sanctuary is all ready. When you have built the sanctuary, at the end, Truma Tetzaveh, the cloud is going to push you out. In other words, even Moshe Rabbeinu, who hardly had any ego, had to go out so that the temple should be in its whole place, the sanctuary. What does God do when somebody removes himself and says, okay, not my ego, it's your geshet? Vayikra, he calls you back and tells you, now here's what you have to do. So you know already, these guys have done a wonderful job with you. You have everything. Now, there's going to be something special being added. You know what a Google is? Ein Sof times Ein Sof. So I want to make sure that every day you're going to turn on to the Gmail. And that you will hear what's coming down because your message is right. I don't know if you have created yet for yourself a whole special chevre, but now with all the means that are available, I hope that you will have a Verbringen from time to time, even with Skype. Is possible. When you have a Verbringen, in Hebrew it's called it va'adut. It va'adut. So you will be able to tune into what the Va'ad gave you and see if you're calibrated the right way. So that's for you. One more thing. The best we can do is make you Rabbanim, but not Rebbes. To become a Rebbe, you don't get an ordination from above. You get an ordination from below. When people have found that people, that your mouth and your heart are in harmony with it, they'll come to you not with questions about how should we set up for next Friday night, but they'll come with what the Abda Rebbe called Balshemske Kvidlach, The people will start saying, yes, but I'd like to know from you about getting closer to Hashem and so on and so forth. Then, when you will have such a group, then you'll be also a Rebbe. So we can do one thing, but the people will have to do something else. Now I'm going to talk to you guys. How do you think they will ever be able to serve you in a spiritual way if you don't really support them? There is a hard battle going to be going on that they have to deal with. V'yedei Moshe kevedim. And in this battle, the hands of Moshe get very tired. So you have to have Aaron and Hur, you have to have some people who will hold up their hands. I want to tell you something. If you bring everything that you can handle yourself in a shul, if you bring every bit of gossip around to the people and say, straighten them out, they didn't talk to me in a nice way. It's your job, Rabbi. Don't do that. You can handle it yourself. You're grown-ups. I want to say this is important because there are some synagogues, some situations where board people will say, we got to run the shul like a business. And I keep saying, yes, but a shul is a business, a shul business, and not a dry good business. What is the business of a shul? Not what's happening most of the time, that this has become a facility for life cycle celebrations. Where are the people when there is no bar mitzvah? Do they come to shul? You will have to support them, be present there, create the field in which their creativity can work. The Kotzka, and some people say it was Reb Nachman. You may have heard me tell this story, it's bearing to tell it again. There was a cemetery where they had buried some holy people who had been killed by Chmielnicki. And there was a goat that Dafke liked to eat the grass that grew in that cemetery. And the goat had beautiful, tall horns that went very high up. And one day, there was a man, I don't know what to call him, lost his tapik pishkale, you know, where he kept the snuff box. So he couldn't find it, and he went to the cemetery and started to cry, and the goat says, "Was weinst du? What's your problem?" He says, "I lost my tapik pishkale." So the goat said, "All right, I'll tell you what. Cut off a piece from my horn and make yourself a tapik pishkale." And so it happened. The guy came back to shul, "Want to shmik tapik? Want to shmik tapik?" And everybody went, "Ah, Tom Gan Eden. What heavenly scent there is there." Where did he get the tapik pishkale? From the goat at the cemetery. And today the goat is going around with very short horns. Because everybody who wanted to have a tapik pishkale cut off another piece from the goat's horns. And Reb Mendel Kotzka said, who's going to hold up the heavens? Now that the goat doesn't have long horns. I'm telling you this story because every hour that you allow them to be in harmony with their family and not to be bothered during dinner time. And every time you're going to allow them and say, please, Rabbi, make sure that you will have some time to study for yourself so you can continue to grow. I like to tell the silly story about the president and vice president walking by the rabbi's study, and they see he's over a Gemara. And the president says to the vice president, I thought we got a finished one. Okay? Give him the chance to do that. Give them a chance to go and bring the horns up to heaven, to study, to take a retreat from time to time. One of my students came to see me, and he was all worn out, burnt out. And I asked him, which day of the week is your Shabbos of the week? And he says, none. So I said, never. Make sure that when they have a Shabbos during the week, not only talking about them, but all the rabbis that you are connected with, give them a chance to have that Shabbos during the week. They can go to great places. And the more they are attached, the more they can bring back to you of what is the Sam HaChaim, that with which will give you life. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.
So I think we'll divide our knowing of Reb Zalman into BC and AD, before computers and after DOS. I couldn't resist. And it is the niggin that we just sang that was in some ways, part of the first part of our connection as Rebbe and Talmid. And I hope now that everyone knows this niggin as well as they do, that we can start learning the Birkat HaMazon. That is the first connection that you and I had back in the mid-60s, and that which stayed with me and how I remembered you for all those years before we met. And it's 39 and a half years ago that I hitchhiked from the interior of British Columbia to Winnipeg. We have a very strong Canadian connection here. To meet Reb Zalman, to see if I could study with him and he could be my teacher. And he said to me, in whatever car you had at that time, because that's where we did most of our talking, you said, how would you like to get smicha from 3 rabbis? 1 Orthodox, 1 Conservative, and 1 Reform. And I said, I don't know if I want to get smicha at all, but that sounds like an interesting way to do it if I want to. And so in Reb Zalman's telling of that story, that was when I gave him permission to give smicha. And in my telling of that story, it's when someone offered me a smicha that I could accept. And so we began something that about 5 or 6 years ago, I noticed has become a lineage. Whose chassid are you? Who is your teacher? The Buddhists always ask that question too. Who is your teacher and who is your teacher's teacher? Ve'esa etchem al kanfei nisharim va'avi etchem elai. I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. Ki mi goy gadol asher lo Elohim krovim elav ki ya Eloheinu b'chol kor'enu elav. For who else is such a great nation that has God so near to it as Havaya our God in all our calling? We are the people called from the slavery of Egypt, carried on the wings of Shekhinah, to be among those in this world who witness to the presence of the divine in this world. According to Pirkei Avot, Moshe received Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Yehoshua, who in turn transmitted Torah to the elders, who transmitted Torah to the prophets, who in turn transmitted it to the men of the Great Assembly. And over time, this linear transmission, the laying on of hands, smikhah, from one generation of men to another, became diffused as we wandered, spread out over the world, and as the number of our teachers who nourished disciples grew. For many, being a rabbi eventually became a degree, a measure of intellectual mastery of a body of material, which in turn conferred power and authority. For us, being a rabbi acknowledges belonging to a lineage and expressing a willingness to serve others as a model and guide of spiritual practice and development in this moment of a great shifting of paradigms. Today, we welcome our latest initiates into this new lineage of Jewish spiritual renewal, a lineage which includes not only rabbis who talk, but rabbis who sing, cantors who not only sing, but who can talk, rabbinic pastors who can sing and talk, drawing deeply on the wisdom of those who have preceded us, and particularly on the devotional mystics of the Eastern European Hasidism, this lineage, given first expression and form by you, our beloved Rabbi Zalman Schachter-Shalomi. Now, in our time, we lay the hands of smicha, of trust and confidence, on both women and men equally, with loving respect for multiple possibilities of sexual orientation and life choices. This is in keeping with our commitment to voluntary negotiation with the dynamic, ever-fluctuating balance between individual practice and communal cohesion. According to the lineage of Pirkei Imahot, Miriam received Torah at Sinai and passed it to Machla, Noah, Chagla, Milcah, and Tirzah, the daughters of Tzlafchad, who passed it to Devorah, who gave it to Chana, who passed it to Michal bat Shaul. I'm sorry, I could never read this enough. Eventually received by Bruria and transmitted to Chana Rachel of Ludomeria, Regina Jonas of Berlin, and now surfacing again to walk side by side and share the light equally with the parallel lineage of men with which we began. We are humbly grateful for this moment of living in the fulfillment of our age-old dream. May the light of the moon be like the light of the sun and like the light of the 7 days of creation.
Amen.
May the lights of men and women, in all their multiple, varied, and wonderful forms, grow ever stronger in the bond of open partnership and service to the one. Amen.
Amen. Are you ready to step forward? You see, I couldn't stand here and just ask that glibly. In your readiness to step forward, we will call you, we will invite you to call out the name by which you are known in Yisrael. And then, if you are ready, to say, Hineni. We call Arvad to come forward and stand here. We call into the lineage of Chazanim. Yossi, inviting you to come forward, call your name. When you're ready, Hineni. And then to call to you those additional ones among your teachers whom you have invited to stand with you.
My name is Yosef Hirsch, and Pinchas Yitzchak, Bettina Miriam. Hineni.
Which teachers do you call?
Hashem, Yah, Elohei Yisrael. הננו מסמיכים אותך לכהן כחזן ובת תפילה בישראל, להוות תורה לרבים ברבים ולהקדיש עולם הנגינה לכבוד השכינה. והננו מאמינים אותך כשליח, כשם שמינו אותם המסמיכים שלנו. ותהי ידך כידינו, פיך כפינו, קולך כקולנו, שירך כשירנו, עתירתך כעתירתנו, ברכתך כברכתנו. המתברך
In the name of Yah, God of Israel,
we here ordain you to serve as Hazan and Master of Tefillah among our people Israel, to be a source of Torah to multitudes, to elevate the realm of melody into holiness.
For the glory
of Shekinah, we here appoint you as our agent, just as we were appointed by those who ordained us. Let the work of your hands be like our hand, your mouth, our mouth, your voice, our voice, your song, our song, your prayers, our prayer, your brachot, our bracha. May the one who gives blessing be blessed.
We call into the lineage of rabbinic pastors, Shendel Khan.
Shendel, Melissa and Mattia and Hanti.
We call into the lineage of rabbinic pastors, Stephanie Tivonari.
I am Tivona Zimra Batorit Yaakov. Hineni. I call for David Daniel Clipper and Rabbi Leila Balburn.
We call into the lineage of rabbinic pastors, Naomi Tronsak.
My name is Naomi Tziro, Bat Avshalom Va'Esther, Hineni. I call Reb Tirza and Reb Nadia to stand along with the other teachers of me.
B'Shem
Yah, Elohei Yisrael, U'Shem Yichud Kushabriku Kushkete, Al-Hadat HaMakom Ve'Adat Kilatenu, Hinenu Masmichim Etchem, L'chaim K'Malagot U'Chayot, L'Limod U'Lemei Torah L'Am Hashem, L'Shamsham B'Tzarchei HaYahadut, L'Tamcham L'Yatzam D'Darkei HaTorah HaShalom, L'Nachamei B'Avram, L'Samchei B'Simchatam, V'hinenu Mali'im Et Yetehen, L'Fei Etzot Rabbanim Machim, L'Yosh Shulchehem, V'chol Minei Maaseh Beit Din, V'tiyeh Livchem K'libenu, Pichen kefinu, berchatchem keberchatenu, v'yi ratzon shetitbarakna b'hatzlacha rabba, v'shehashem yitbarach yishalem tzorchem, b'vayut u'tva u'nora me'alya, v'yikuya b'chem, l'man yirbu bechem u'v'nei al-adama, Asher Yishmarana Latechem, Latec Lachem, In the name of Yah, the God of Israel, and for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He and the Shekhinah, with the consent of God and the consent of our community. Herewith we ordain you to serve as spiritual companions, to study and teach Torah to God's people, to minister to them, in support and counsel them in the ways of Torah and peace, to console them in their bereavements, and to rejoice with them in their joyous occasions. We hereby empower you to follow the advice of competent rabbis and to serve as emissaries in all kinds of rabbinic actions. Thus may your heart be in harmony with ours, your word be in harmony with our word, your blessing as potent as our blessings. May it be God's will that you be blessed with great success, and that God will reward you with a robust health of body and enlightened spirit. Thus will be fulfilled in you the promise, in order that your days and the days of your children be many on this earth, that God has promised to your parents, so that you might live heavenly days right here on earth. Amen.
Amidst hugs, love, and kisses, we call into the lineage of rabbis. Ephraim Eisen.
Ephraim ben Yaakov Sarah Hineni. I have like to call my brother Daniel Goldblatt, Shefa, Jack Gabriel, and my wife Rosalie, who's the Bala Brucha.
We call into the lineage of rabbis Mark Elbar.
Moshe ben Gershon Verivka, Hineni. And I call please Reb Leila and Reb Sammy.
We call into the lineage of rabbis Ilan Glazer.
Ilan David ben Harav Moshe Yaakov V'Dresha Froma Zichronah Livracha Hineni. I call Rabbi Shulamit, Rabbi Mark Saleh, Rabbi Mel Glazer to come forward to join this auspicious.
We call into the lineage of rabbis Mark Novak.
I am Moshe Be'er ben Avraham Ba'asnat, and I call my beloved Reb Sharon and Reb Nadia and Reb Laura. Hineni.
We call into the lineage of rabbis Jeremy Parnes.
My name is Moshe Yosef Ben Shlomo Ve'Esther Gittel, Zichronam Levracham. And I call some who've already been called, and Rabbi Alan Green and Reb Joseph Schubert. Hineni.
We call into the lineage of rabbis, Yitzhak Vardi.
אני יצחק בן שמעון ואסתר ורדי. I'm calling to Rab Steve and Rab Jacob Wien. הנני.
L'shem yichud kudsha brichu ushechinta al dat makom ve'al dat kilatenu anu masmichim etchem lechahen kerabanim b'Yisrael lehorot Torah lerabim barabim levarer din emet l'tikun hashchina כשם שמינו אותנו למסמיכים שלנו, כן ממנים אנחנו אתכם, להיות שליחים לעם ישראל, למסור להם את דבר השם, הבא אלינו בזמן הזה. ותהי אתכם כידינו, ועשייתכם כעשייתנו, ופיכם כפי יפינו, ודיבורכם כדיבורנו, ומעשה בית דינכם כמעשה בית דיננו, וברכתכם כברכתנו. לכן סמוכים אתם לנו, ורבים תתקרבו, להורות תורה לרבים, כדת משה מרים וישראל. In the name of Yah, the God of Israel, and for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, and the Shekhinah, with the consent of God and the consent of our community, herewith we ordain you to officiate as rabbis in Israel, to publicly teach Torah, and to clarify and pronounce truths in ways that make a tikkun for the Shekhinah. We hereby appoint you as our delegates and emissaries, just as those who appointed us, delegated us, and sent us to be rabbis. And thus you are now ordained as rabbis and leaders. May your hands be like ours, your decrees like our decrees, your rabbinic acts valid like ours, your adjudication like our adjudication, your blessings like our blessings. And so we ordain you and call you rabbi to teach Torah publicly according to the path set out by Moshe, Miriam, and the people of Israel.
Congratulations.
We invite all of the musmachim amidst the hugs and kisses to stand facing the community of witness. As we present to this community of love and witness, our musmachim. You're loud, this melody to take them to some private and quiet time together with closing blessings.
Ooh.